The late hours at the hospital felt like an isolated expedition into the unknown, challenging my bravery and mental stability. The once bustling corridors, vibrant with the activity of doctors and nurses during the day, transformed into a desolate realm of eerie quiet after sunset. The overhead lights, dimmed to save energy, cast elongated shadows that twisted and writhed with every movement, as if the very walls were alive with untold secrets. My name is Clara, and for nearly a decade, I have navigated these sacred halls as a nurse. Though my colleagues and I had often heard whispers of ghostly encounters and spectral figures roaming the halls after dark, I had always dismissed these stories as mere embellishments meant to break the monotony of the night shift. Little did I know that soon I would confront the inexplicable and the otherworldly, experiences that would forever alter my perception of reality. The night shift began like any other, with the routine handover from the day staff, the exchange of information about patients' conditions, and the inevitable camaraderie that came with sharing the challenges of caring for the sick and injured. As the day staff departed, leaving the night team to its duties, a heavy silence settled over the hospital, broken only by the soft beeping of monitors and the distant hum of machinery. In the initial hours, my rounds were uneventful. I checked on patients, administered medication, and offered comfort to those who struggled to find rest. It was during one of these quiet moments, as I sat at the nurse's station updating patient charts, that I first felt a subtle shift in the air, a prickling sensation at the back of my neck, as if I were being watched. I glanced around, expecting to see one of my colleagues, but the corridor was empty. Dismissing the feeling as fatigue, I returned to my work. Then one night it started innocuously enough. I was making my rounds when I saw her for the first time. An elderly woman, frail and stooped, wearing a faded hospital gown that seemed decades old. She was walking slowly down the corridor of Ward C, the geriatric ward. I assumed she was a patient who had wandered out of her room, so I followed her, calling out gently, "Ma'am, do you need help?" She didn't respond. Her steps were steady but slow, and I quickened my pace to catch up with her. Just as I was about to reach out and touch her shoulder, she turned a corner. I hurried after her, but when I rounded the corner myself, she was gone. There was no exit or room she could have entered. She had simply vanished. The next encounter was more startling. I was working in the morgue, assisting with an autopsy. The air was thick with the scent of formaldehyde, and the cold, sterile environment made my skin prickle. We were halfway through the procedure when I saw her. A beautiful woman, dressed in what appeared to be an old-fashioned mortician's uniform, stood at the edge of the room. Her presence was so unexpected that I gasped, causing the pathologist to look up in confusion. "Did you see her?" I asked, my voice trembling. "See who?" he replied, glancing around the room. But by then, she was gone. A soft chuckle echoed through the room, sending a chill down my spine. I learned later that she was believed to be a former mortician who had worked at the hospital many years ago. Her appearances were rare but always unnerving. One of the most moving encounters involved a man and a woman who were often seen walking hand in hand. They always appeared together, their expressions calm and content. As they strolled through the halls, they would nod politely to anyone they met. Their attire hinted at a bygone era, possibly the early 20th century. Despite their spectral nature, their presence felt oddly reassuring, as if their love had endured beyond death. In stark contrast, the most disquieting experience was with the giggling girls. Almost every night, as I made my way through the dimly lit corridors, I would hear their voices. Two girls, whispering and laughing to one another. Their laughter was oddly compelling, yet carried a menacing undertone. No matter how quickly I moved or which direction I took, the sound of their giggling always seemed to linger just out of sight. As the night stretched into weeks and then months, my encounters with the spectral inhabitants of the hospital only grew in frequency and intensity. Each shift brought with it a new spectral visitor, their presence leaving an indelible mark on my psyche. There were nights when I would catch glimpses of figures darting in and out of sight, their forms flickering like candle flames in the darkness. These fleeting apparitions seemed to hover at the edge of my vision, leaving me with a sense of unease that lingered long after they had vanished into the shadows. But it was the lingering spirits that truly unsettled me. Those whose presence was not merely a fleeting whisper in the night, but a palpable presence that seemed to fill the very air around me. Their spectral forms would materialize before me, their faces etched with the pain and sorrow of lives cut short. One night, while checking on patients in the pediatric ward, I heard the faint sound of a lullaby. It was hauntingly beautiful, but it seemed out of place in the quiet, sterile environment. Following the melody, I entered a dimly lit room that had been unused for years. There, in the corner, sat a rocking chair, gently moving back and forth, as if someone invisible was cradling an infant. The lullaby continued, growing louder and more melancholic. I felt a chill run down my spine as I realized the chair was empty, yet the presence of a grieving mother, long gone, was unmistakably there. Another particularly chilling encounter happened in the abandoned psychiatric wing. I was on a dare from a colleague to retrieve a forgotten clipboard. As I made my way through the derelict halls, I felt an oppressive heaviness in the air. Suddenly, I heard a low, guttural growl emanating from one of the empty rooms. I froze, heart pounding. Summoning all my courage, I peeked inside to find nothing but darkness. Just as I was about to turn away, a shadowy figure lunged at me from the corner. I screamed and fled, not stopping until I was back in the safety of the main building. The experience left me shaken, and I later learned that the wing had once housed a particularly violent patient who had died under mysterious circumstances. In my quest for understanding, I delved deep into the history of the hospital, scouring old records and archives for any clues that might shed light on the mysteries that haunted its halls. The journey was long and arduous, filled with late nights spent in the dim glow of ancient lamps, surrounded by the musty scent of aged paper and the faint, almost imperceptible whispers of the past. What I discovered was not merely a series of events, but a rich tapestry of human experience, woven from threads of joy and sorrow, love and loss. There were countless stories of patients who had come to the hospital seeking solace in their final days. Each story was unique, yet all were united by a common thread of humanity. Some patients arrived with hope, their eyes bright with the promise of recovery, while others came in resignation, seeking only a dignified end. Their lives became intertwined with those of the nurses and doctors who tended to them with unwavering compassion and care. These medical professionals were not merely healers of the body, but also caretakers of the soul, offering comfort and kindness in times of great need. As I pored over these tales of joy and sorrow, love and loss, I began to see a pattern emerging. It was as if the very walls of the hospital were imbued with the memories of those who had passed through its doors. The building itself seemed to breathe with the collective experiences of countless souls, their stories echoing through the hallways, lingering in the air like an invisible mist. The spirits of those who had suffered and found solace within the hospital's confines appeared to linger on, serving as guardians of the place they had once called home. The records chronicled moments of deep connection between patients and staff, where a kind word or a gentle touch seemed to bridge the divide between life and death. These instances of human empathy transcended the physical realm, leaving a lasting imprint on the essence of the hospital. The spirits of those who had shared such profound connections remained, their presence a testament to the enduring impact of love and compassion. Ultimately, delving into the hospital's history revealed more than the spectral mysteries that haunted its halls. It exposed the intricate web of interconnected lives that had passed through its doors, woven together in a rich tapestry of human experience. The lingering spirits were not mere echoes of the past, but living embodiments of the love, loss, joy, and sorrow that characterize the human condition. In this way, the hospital continued to serve as a place of healing, not just for the body, but for the soul.